Centrally located in the south of Ireland is the town of Liscarrolll, in Irish Liscarrolll, meaning the Fort of Carroll. The rich, scenic countryside, chiefly agricultural, is the idyllic setting for the 19th century village. Situated in the northeast corner of the barony of the Hollow and to the southwest of the Golden Vale and the Ballyhora region, the townland has a population of 800. The area, of major importance during the 17th century, celebrates its history with a welcome to all. The population, mainly Catholic, worship at the limestone church dedicated to St. Joseph, constructed in 1868. The present four-teacher, 100-student primary school, built in 1971, replaced the old school, now converted into a community centre. Local industry is principally based on the services to the agricultural community, provides employment for over 80 people. Donkey Sanctuary, a haven for these now redundant animals, attracts thousands of visitors yearly. Liscarrolll Creamery, one of the country's oldest cooperatives, is currently a store for agricultural supplies of the larger-based Dairygold cooperative. The present handball alley, constructed in 1986, replaced the older one built in 1868. It has yielded All-Ireland and World Champions. The social life of the community is dominated by the various sporting activities, hurling and football, athletics and handball. In the short winter days, the cry of the foot bagels from the local pack is heard in the numerous fox covers around the village. The countryside also provides great hunting for the dashing Duhallows, one of the country's oldest hunts. Gambling instincts are satisfied at the Derrygollen point-to-point races held annually in Liscarrolll, bringing champions and punters from far and wide. On the 2nd of August, members of the Seal Knot Society, a dedicated group of battle reenactors, arrived in Liscarrolll to reenact the famous battle fought here in 1642. They were in full period costume and had the authentic arms of the 17th century. The Knot, as it is more commonly known, founded in 1968 with a view to giving better knowledge of history, is an educational charity which has raised funds for numerous charities and communities. It has now grown to over 6,000 members. In 1637, Liscarrolll was in the hands of Sir Philip Percival, given as part of a land grant from King Charles I. In 1641, Percival placed the castle in the charge of Sergeant Thomas Raymond, having carried out extensive repair work on the fortifications. Raymond had an unhappy association with Liscarrolll, for it was twice recaptured by the Irish while under his charge. Both events occurred during the Wars of the Confederation, 1641 to 1652. While it is often described as a confrontation between the Irish and English forces, there was such a switching of loyalties during the 11 years that such a definition is hard to adhere to at times. One example is at the Battle of Liscarrolll, in which the English General Lord Inchiquin commanded an army composed mainly of Irishmen. The Irish army, led by Garrett Barry, had retreated from Cork City and were regrouping in Limerick, preparing for another push into Cork. When Barry finally decided the time was ready for the advance, he headed a formidable force augmented by artillery. He made his first target the giant fortress of Liscarrolll. He rode at the head of an army of 7,000 foot, 500 horse and a train of artillery. Inchiquin, aware of Barry's presence in County Cork, was unable to cut him off before he arrived at Liscarrolll. The castle guarded by Sergeant Raymond with a garrison of 30 men. Raymond had surrendered on September the 2nd, overwhelmed by the Irish guns positioned to the southeast. Next day, Inchiquin arrived on the scene. heading an army of 3,000 foot, 400 horse and artillery. Although outnumbered, he had a better disciplined force, capable of quickly regrouping against any attacks. There then followed 7 hours of bloody fighting, and at the end of the day, Barry had lost. On the field of the battle to the east of the castle, the Irish left 600 dead, an artillery train, 14 colours, 30 wagons and 300 muskets. So ended the Battle of Liscarrolll, a major setback to the hopes of the Irish. Sergeant Raymond once more took command of the fortress and 2 years later drove off a very determined Irish attack. In 1645 he surrendered for the second time to the brilliant Lord Castlehaven. Such was his reputation in battle that Raymond handed over Liscarrolll without even firing a shot. The North Cork fortress fell into English hands again when, in 1650, Sir Harness Waller wrested it from the Irish hands, but before long he too lost it. With the ending of the wars, the castle and lands were once more in the possession of the Percival family, but by 1663 they had moved into Egmont House, and the castle fell into a period of years of neglect. In recent years, Liscarrolll has been extensively renovated and well worth a visit.
An exhibition depicting the long and glorious history of Liscarrolll.
what he gives the gun's name.
Oh, Cannon's up now. Is that one Spin's block?
This is called Harvey.
That's Harvey.
That's my cousin, it actually. It's like a giant cousin.
lives. Yowza, yowza. in the sky of day, the sky.
Jerry Murphy, it's about to start. Within 10 minutes the Battle of Liscarrolll will have started. How do you feel about it now?
Reasonably happy, reasonably comfortable. Things seem to be getting into place. Crowd is gathering. The steel knot are preparing. We can see there in the background. They're defending the castle. The horses have been going through their paces during the morning, so everything is in readiness.
Where did the idea come from in the first place?
Well, I suppose going back to the time when we were going to school, we've been taught history of the Battle of Liscarrolll 1642. It was drilled into us by our teachers. I suppose when you get older, you get a bit nostalgic and you think of history and read more history. And then people began talking about the Battle of Liscarrolll, how did it happen, how did it come about, and I suppose then we researched how we could reenact it. And that was a long process, and we eventually got in contact with the Seal Knot Society in England, who do 17th century battles, reenact them. And it all came from there, and there have been toing and froing, talking with the Seal Knot. And as a result of a lot of discussion, debate, overcoming problems, and we're there now, and we're here, and this is the first reenactment of the Battle of Liscarrolll since 1642.
Well, I'm talking to you now in the wake of the Olympics, and there have been rows between the various committees, Irish committees. This battle was a row between Irish committees in many ways, so nothing changes much.
Oh no, history always repeats itself, don't it, Donica?
Would you hope there might be a change in the result here today?
I don't think so. I think that is the one feature of the Seal Knot. They reenact according to the way history is written. They don't change history. Whatever happened, they do things according to the letter of their law, which is authentic.
It seems, looking around us here, a great country day, men, women, children, a family day.
Family day out, yes. That's what we hope to. There's plenty of opposition, but today is a family day out. And the families are gathering here, and we hope to be able to facilitate them. We hope we give them a good day's entertainment.
And of course, the first time it happened in 1642, it happened once. It's happening twice in Liscarrolll this weekend.
Yes. We felt that it would be a shame to waste the Seal Knot on one day, that they try and get whatever, to get their talents on the second day as well, because of the side shows that have been on the entertainment. Limerick are playing in Dublin, and there are entertainments in Mill Street and in Mitchelstown, but we will be here again tomorrow to Lacoon of Day.
A great weekend for Liscarrolll.
I hope so. It has been great up to now. Friday night was a cracking night in that we had fireworks. Saturday night we had a magnificent parade of the Seal Knot. Today is good, so it's great for Liscarrolll, Donica.
It's the first of its kind in Ireland. This is the first time for the Seal Knot to come into this country. It was a major operation for ourselves in that we had to, our part of our contract was to provide the ferry transport, the costs, and we have to feed the 300 for the week. So as you can imagine, that's quite a large undertaking.
The membership is varied. It goes from quite old people who maybe have retired and are looking for an interest, down to students, people with young children. Quite often you see people join the society, meet someone, marry, and 10 years later you're talking to their 10-year-old kid in the beer tent or around the Traders' Row.
Speaking of beer, do you get to partake of the grog much?
That is quite a large portion of the activities of the society. When we first joined, it was more a booze and bash event. We attracted a lot of rugby teams, that sort of thing. But now there seems to be a lot more emphasis on the historical side.
It is actually a very good sort of stress therapy, actually, yes. Works very well.
This gentleman here, you look particularly mean and moody, if I might say. You don't have any ancestors that were involved in this kind of thing, do you?
Not that I know of. Most of my ancestors, when we started tracing it back, seemed to be fairly dodgy characters, so we sort of gave up on that one.
Tell me, why do you do this?
There's lots of reasons, really, but I think the thing that I find nicest about it is it's a huge bunch of friends.
The battle took place here on the 3rd of September 1642. There were thousands of men involved in the battle, and Inchiquin was ultimately successful in it. Great slaughter in the place. Of course, the war of which it was part continued on until 1653, but the whole thing ended with the Cromwellian conquest of Ireland.
Steve Chater of the Sealed Knot.
It is, yes.
What exactly is the Sealed Knot?
The Sealed Knot was a society formed in 1968. Basically, our aim is to tell people about how life would have been in the 17th century. In those 30 years, we've grown into a society of something like 7,000 members. We perform and put on shows and raise money for loads of different charities over, well, the majority of the UK. And every now and then we get a visit to foreign parts, and this is our first ever visit to Ireland.
Now, to go back to the number of engagements your group has enacted or reenacted, the Battle of Naseby was one of the big ones, was it?
Yes, last year, in fact, was the 350th anniversary of the Battle of Naseby. And we reenacted that engagement, and we had something like 6,500 combatants on the field, so it was a very spectacular event, yes.
How does one control an event like that? Do you have an overall director?
We have, in the society, we're structured. We have different people running different parts of the society. So we have a Muster Master General who will find a location, decide on what we're doing. We then also, within the society, we have PR functions, we have individual commanders of each branch of the armies, whether it be Parliament or for the King. Within those, we then have individual regiments who've got their own commanding officers. So we have a structured format within the society.
Now, how did you reinvest yourself for Ireland? It's quite different here now.
In terms of?
In terms of the combatants.
Oh, right, yes, that's caused us quite a bit of a problem because we're effectively fighting Irish against Irish. And what we've had to do is we've got people from something like 25 different regiments in the UK, and we'll find today that people are actually engaged against people who they're normally fighting hand-to-hand with or side-by-side with. So we're a bit confused this morning, so we'll see how it goes this afternoon.
You have Irish horses taking part today.
We have, yes, and I talked to a few of the cavalry this morning who are looking forward to today, should I say.
The Duhala horses, we're not sure whether they are looking forward or not.
We don't know, because we'll find out when the first shots of cannon or musket go.
Do you have Irish combatants?
We have a group of local Jacobites who've descended on the camp over the weekend, so they've been invited to fight for the English, I believe.
And you and I will be doing this commentary. It's certainly new for me. It's new for you too.
It's new for me. I got off the boat on Thursday morning and I was told by the Muster Master General, Steve, you're all right for doing the commentary? And I said, sorry, and here I am. So,
looking forward to it?
Yes.
And of course, may the best team win, so to speak.
As I don't know who is on which side, I think we'll find out, won't we? We might make it up as we go along.
But you can imagine that it was close quarter. Oh.
Well, I think there's been a signal. They've all set up now.
So they probably are going out to find out where the English, if in fact the English are coming.
Yeah, they're cantering towards us here now. A fine spectacle it is too.
It's probably the only managed to get them out of
the last horse is having, the rider is having some difficulties, I think. There they go. And the English are drawn up away to the right, if you look over there.
Well,
they're coming back very fast.
So we've obviously got a situation where the outriders from the Irish have actually come across the English army and are now telling the commander that the English are approaching. So we should see some very rapid reaction from the garrison force here. We can now see Inchkin's cavalry approaching. We now have a situation where we have the Irish horse going out to meet. And we now have notice on the far side, the outworks. They've obviously noticed the English forces and are now making ready to make it as difficult for them as possible to advance. So we now have horse against horse, so we have the cavalry, and they've broken through. So Inchkin's cavalry have broken through. We now get response from the garrison itself. That was Bella and Donna.
Oh, splendid, two splendid women. Large-eyed, obviously.
The defenders are actually defending quite hard there, forcing the horse back. They've not actually broken through yet. We now see the army garrison actually moving out. We have a block of pike, and they're actually carrying the Irish colours. So they're actually going out to actually meet the advancing English.
They're going to take them on, in other words.
It would appear to be. And we hear the drums of the Irish doing the march. We have a skirmish line of musket, followed by a block of pike.
And the advance party, they're going further and further towards the right there.
Yeah. The forlorn hope, as they were used to call. Obviously providing as much front cover as possible. We now see the standards of the English army advancing. The Irish horse retreating behind their lines. As you can see, we've now got a deployment of musket across the field, supported on the left by a block of pike.
And there's the most unlikely combatant arrived. Might belong to the Duhallas. He thinks it's a Tuesday, he should be out maybe. And there seems to be a total engagement about to take place. Now the horse are here, and the other troops are advancing. The English are advancing now.
We now have two engagements. We now have the Irish horse being chased by the English horse, and we can see the main body of the Irish pike actually pushing a point of pike into the English army. You will see that they are then supported from the rear by two blocks of musket. The English musket is now feeded out to the right-hand side to oppose the left flank of the Irish army. The Irish horse seems to be getting the worst of the wear in their encounter with the English horse. A bit of eyeball-to-eyeball stuff for the crowd down in the far left-hand corner.
Known as a knife through butter there.
So this is the part of the battle where you've got to decide yourself which part you're actually looking at, because battles are battles, and we will now see that things are happening in all parts of the field. We've got the horse engagement down here with the crowd. We can see that we've now got pike against pike on the far right-hand side, and we've got individual musket blocks eyeing themselves up to take out an opposition musket block. We can see some definite movement now in the fact that the English forces have split into two distinct areas. We can see a block of musket actually moving around on the right flank. The English pike seem to be holding the Irish pike, but I'm a bit more concerned about the horse on the far right hand side, because it's leaving the poor musket block in the middle very exposed to a potential attack from the Irish horse. And we've now got hand-to-hand combat. I think that might be the Jacobeans, but I might be wrong.
Are these the local troops?
I think so. And I think if that's the case, they've changed sides.
That wouldn't be unknown in those days. Nowadays, in fact, to change sides, very common practice.
Unlike events back in the UK, a lot of the horses that we use are very used to working in these environments. the horses that we've got for this engagement. In fact, it's the first time that they've actually been out in an environment like this, so they've performed very well today, and I'm sure that the riders tonight will have a few stories to tell as well.
They're loading up the big guns, I see.
Yes, the English artillery is now in position, so that actual engagement between the English and the Irish actually allowed them time to move up their heavy artillery, so we could now see a fairly lengthy bombardment.
And the flags are adopting the same pattern of waving.
Yeah, you will see the ensigns waving their standards. Basically, this is a sign of hello, we're here, we're brave, we're ready to come and get you. So the actual waving of the colours is of a means of saying, I don't fear you, I'm here, I'm stronger than you. And we also see that the Irish pike now are coming out to meet the English army. As you will see, you've got the pike block have actually formed a defensive wall against the cavalry. You've got the drummers drumming consistently, telling the soldiers to stay in that position. And we can see now a mass engagement on the front flank. Pike against pike. We now have the two musket blocks looking to engage each other. Now you see that the Irish are actually fleeing back behind the castle walls.
That's an Irish army, all right, yeah.
They're being pursued heavily. The Irish horses split. We have an Irish dragoon or musket block coming out to face the English on the far left-hand corner. And the Irish and the English horse seem to be fighting their own individual battle, running across the field.
It's a matter of picking your battle and watching it at this stage, I think.
Now we see the Irish fleeing back into the safety of the garrison. The bulk of the English force now advancing into the centre of the field. Their musketeers on the left flank have already held the Irish musket, and we now have the full block of English pike marching unopposed towards the garrison. We now have the remainder of the Irish outpost fleeing back to the garrison. I should expect now we will see a full onslaught from the
here they come.
And here comes the Irish horse to try and cut off the English cavalry. As we can see, we've got some very aggressive hand-to-hand fighting on the left-hand side. Musket and sword against musket and sword. And we can see quite a few soldiers lying on the ground at the moment.
It looks to be all over battle shouting. The standards have been raised. There are bodies everywhere. People are retreating towards up the street there, towards the pub. Great shouting. And this is how a day was spent in 1642 when Lord Inchiquin's forces took on the locals here. They're coming back again now at the standard, letting you see that they've actually won the battle.
What you can see is you can see the women walking round, checking on the bodies on the floor, whether they're dead, seeing what they're going to steal, take a ring. any money, the pickings after the battle.
And we're almost at the end of the reenactment of the Battle of Liscarrolll.
You see the victorious army forming up in front of the crowd. Thank you very much.
The battle and celebrations may be over for today, but our history lives on. Hopefully, this aspect of history and much more can be relived in the future. We wish to thank the Seal Knot, the general public, our sponsors, and all those who work so hard to make this weekend such a major success.
If anybody in the crowd is interested in talking to members of the society, we're here, we're in costume, we're wandering round. Everybody's more than welcome to talk to the soldiers, see how we actually recreate 17th century history. If anybody wants information about the Seal Knot, how to join, then by all means just ask and we'll sign you up.
you're not keen. Take off on it.